$50 a week. That is a coffee and a lunch. Most people spend $50 per week without thinking about it. Starbucks $5 to $8 a day, lunch out $12 to $15. DoorDash on the weekend $20. Netflix, Spotify, and subscriptions $15. Total about $50 per week, gone. No wealth created. But what if you invested that $50 per week instead? What if you took the coffee money, the lunch money, the subscription money, and invested it for 40 years? 50 per week times 40 years. At a conservative 8.5% return, $883,000. At VIDI's actual 20-year historical average of 10.85%, $1,805,897. Not 900. Not 90,000. At the conservative estimate, nearly 900,000. At the historical average, 1.8 million. From $50 a week. The same 50 you spend on coffee, lunch, and subscriptions without thinking twice. The difference is time, not money. Start at 25, 883 to 1.8 million. Start at 35, 293 to 595. The difference from starting 10 years earlier, 590 to $1.2 million. Not from earning more money, not from picking better stocks, from giving compounding 10 additional years. For the first 10 years, compounding is barely noticeable. $47,000 in your account. By year 20, $185,000 serious money. Year 30, $595, life-changing. Year 40, $1.8 million. The last 10 years produce more wealth than the first 30 combined. That is the exponential curve at work. Welcome back to Faceless Millionaire. The 50 per week strategy is the most accessible path to wealth I have found. Nobody sells courses on 50 a week, builds 900,000. But that is exactly what happens when you invest consistently for 40 years. Subscribe and let us prove it with verified math. Quick disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor or CPA. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The returns used in this video are historical averages and not guaranteed to repeat. All investments carry risk, including loss of principal. Consult a fiduciary financial advisor before investing. This is not personalized advice. The verified formula. 50 per week equals 2,600 per year. Over 40 years, 104,000 total contributed. Using the compound interest formula with weekly compounding. At 8.5%, the conservative estimate, 3,420. At 10.85%, which is VT's actual 20-year historical average, 1,805,897. You contributed 104,000. The gains at 8.5%, 779,000, which is 88% of your final wealth. The gains at 10.85, 1.7 million, which is 94%. Between 88 and 94% of your entire retirement comes from compounding, not from your own money. Sensitivity analysis across different return assumptions. At 8%, 762, 849. At 8 years, 0.5, 883, 420, which supports the 900,000 headline. At 9%, 1,025,000. At 10%, 1,388,000. At 10.85, which is VT's actual historical average, 1,805,000. The range, conservative 763 to historical 1.8 million. Even the worst case at 8% produces 763,000 from just 104,000 invested. The 900,000 headline is actually conservative. The real number based on historical returns could be 1.8 million. Year by year at 10.85%. Year 1, contributed 2,600, value 2743. Barely moved. Year 5, 13,000 contributed, 17,000 value. Growth is emerging. Year 10, 26 contributed, 47 value. Now compounding is visible. Year 15, 39 contributed, 98 value. Serious acceleration. Year 20, 52 contributed, 185 value. Growth is now 3.5 times your contributions. Year 25, 65 contributed, 336. Year 30, 78 contributed, 595. Year 35, 91 contributed, 1.04 million. You just became a millionaire on 50 per week. Year 40, 104 contributed, 1.81 million. The key insight, years 30 to 40 add 1.21 million. Years 1 through 30 add only 595. The final decade produces twice as much wealth as the first 3 decades combined. Why 50 per week is the psychological sweet spot. 10 per week at 10.85 for 40 years, 361,000. Growth is so slow in the early years that it feels pointless, and most people quit within 5 years. 25 per week, 903,000. Decent final number, but the first 10 years are painfully slow. 50 per week, 1.81 million. By year 10, you have 47,000, which is visible, meaningful progress. Psychologically sustainable for 40 years. 100 per week, 3.61 million. But that is 5.7% of the 91,000 median U.S. household income in 2026. Many households cannot sustain that for 4 decades. 50 per week is only 2.9% of median household income. It is invisible in your monthly budget. It does not trigger lifestyle inflation awareness. And it is sustainable for 40 years. Small consistent beats large sporadic. 50 per week automated, this is a habit. No willpower needed. Never miss a contribution because it happens automatically on autopilot. Compare to 2,600 once a year whenever you feel like it. This is a decision. Willpower needed. Some months you skip. Some years you forget. Eventually, you quit. Mathematically, if both actually contribute 2,600 per year for 40 years, the results are nearly identical. But in real life, automated investors stick with a strategy 95% plus of the time because the money leaves their account before they can spend it. Sporadic investors quit within 5 to 10 years because discipline fails during job changes, market crashes, or lifestyle temptations. A sporadic investor who quits at year 5 ends with 17,000. The consistent automated investor at year 40, 1.8 million. Difference, 1.78 million from just staying consistent. The psychology behind this. Habits do not require willpower. Decisions require willpower. Willpower is a finite resource that depletes through the day. By evening, you have almost no willpower left for financial decisions. The solution: make investing a habit, not a decision. 50 per week automated is a habit. It happens without you thinking about it. 2,600 as a lump sum when you feel like it is a decision. You have to actively choose saving over spending every single time. Automation removes the choice entirely. No choice means no opportunity to fail. Studies consistently show that people who automate their savings contribute 3 times more over their lifetime than people who rely on willpower and manual decisions. The account order for your 50 per week. Priority 1. Roth era. 2026 contribution limit, 7,500 per year under 50, 8,500 at 50 plus. Your 50 per week equals 2,600 per year, which fits easily within the limit. Everything grows tax-free forever. 0 taxes on 1.8 million at retirement. Compare the same investments in a taxable brokerage account. Approximately 270,000 in taxes on the same gains over 40 years. The Roth saves you 270,000 in lifetime taxes. Priority 2, 401k employer match if your company offers one. Contribute enough from your paycheck to get the full match, which is typically 3 to 6% of salary. This is separate from your 50 per week and comes from your paycheck. The employer match is an instant 100% return, which is free money. Never leave it on the table. Priority 3, taxable brokerage for any amounts above the Roth limit or if your income exceeds the Roth eligibility phase out. Practical setup. Your 50 per week goes 100% into your Roth IRA. 2,600 per year is well under the 7,500 limit, so you have plenty of room. Inside the Roth, buy VU or VT. VU trades at approximately $6.75 per share, but all major brokerages allow fractional share purchases, so your $50 buys a fraction of a share every week. Your 401k employer match comes from your paycheck separately, in addition to the 50 per week. Total retirement savings. 2,600 from Roth funded by your 50 per week plus 3,000 from the 401k match on a 50,000 salary equals 5,600 per year toward retirement. Your 50 per week funds your Roth IRA. Your paycheck funds your 401k match. Together, 5,600 per year going toward retirement from 50 per week plus employer generosity. Starting age scenarios. At 10.85%, VTI's historical average. Start 25 with 40 years, 1,805,000. Start 30 with 35 years, 1,040,000. Start 35 with 30 years, 595,000. Start 40 with 25 years, 336,000. Start 45 with 20 years, 185,000. Start 50 with 15 years, 97,830. At the conservative 8.5% estimate, start 25, 883. Start 30, 514. Start 35, 293. Start 40, 162. Start 45, 85. Start 50, 41. The cost of delay at 10.85%. Starting at 25 versus 30, a 5-year delay, you lose 765,573. Starting at 25 versus 35, 10 years, lose 1,210,848. Starting at 25 versus 40, lose 1,469. Starting at 25 versus 45, lose 1,620. You did not contribute 765,000 less by starting at 30 instead of 25. You only skipped 13,000 in contributions over those 5 years. The other 752,000 was compounding you missed. Each dollar you did not contribute during those 5 years costs you $58 in lost final wealth. Time creates the wealth, not your contributions, not stock picking, not market timing. Time for late starters. If you are 40 plus and feeling like you missed the window, start anyway. 50 per week at 10.85 starting at 40 equals $336,000 by 65. That is $336,000 more than zero. At the 4% safe withdrawal rate, $13,443 per year plus $28,000 Social Security equals $41,443 per year. Not luxury, but not poverty. If you can increase to 100 per week starting at 40, $672,000 by 65. That changes the entire retirement picture. The best time to start investing was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. At any age, 50 per week invested is infinitely better than 50 per week spent on things you will not remember. Where to find 50 per week without deprivation? Coffee and lunch. Make them at home and save 50 per week instantly. Starbucks at 6 per day, 5 days a week is 30. Lunch out at $12, 3 days per week is 36. Total savings, 66 per week, more than enough. Subscription audit, cancel 3 to 4 streaming and app services you do not actually use. Save 12 to 16 per week. DoorDash and food delivery, cook 2 meals at home instead of ordering delivery. Save 25 to 30 per week. Impulse purchases, implement the 30-day rule. See something you want, wait 30 days. If you still want it after 30 days, buy it. Most impulse purchases are forgotten by day 10. Save 20 to 30 per week. Pick one single category. Find 50. Set up the automatic transfer. Done, you are not depriving yourself of anything. You are redirecting money from things you do not remember to wealth that will fund decades of retirement freedom. 5 psychological barriers that stop 90% of people. 1. The scale illusion. $50 feels too small to matter, but the math shows 883,000 to 1.8 million. 2. Immediacy bias. Coffee in your hand right now feels more real than 1.8 million in 40 years. 3. Lifestyle inflation. Every raise goes to a nicer apartment or car, and the 50 per week feels squeezed. 4. Decision fatigue. Making financial choices depletes your willpower throughout the day. 5. Analysis paralysis. Waiting for the perfect moment to start investing. The solution to all 5 barriers is the same single word: automation. Set up a 50 per week automatic transfer from your checking to your Roth IRA. Never make the decision again. Habit replaces willpower. The money leaves your account before you can spend it. You adjust your lifestyle to what remains. The barrier disappears. The 5 phases of compounding that every investor experiences. Phase 1, doubt. Years 1 through 5, 17,000 total in your account. Feels pointless. You question whether this will ever work. You think about quitting. Phase 2, patience. Years 5 through 10, 17 to 47,000. Growth is accelerating. You contributed 26, but have 47. You start to believe this might actually work. Phase 3, acceleration. Years 10 through 20, 47 to 185,000. Compounding is now outracing your contributions by 3.5 to 1. You are officially a believer. Phase 4, conviction. Years 20 through 30, 185 to 95,000. Failure is no longer mathematically possible. Even if you stop contributing today, the 595 would grow to over 1 million by year 40 on its own. Phase 5, explosion. Years 30 through 40, 595 to 1.81 million. The final decade adds 1.21 million in gains. More wealth is created in the last 10 years than the first 30 combined. You retire. Freedom achieved. On $50 a week. What 900,000 to 1.8 million means at retirement. Conservative at 883,000, 4% withdrawal equals 35,337 per year. Plus Social Security at 28,000 equals 60,3337 per year. At the historical return of 1.81 million, 4% withdrawal equals 72,236 per year. Plus Social Security equals 102,36 per year. 63 to 100,000 per year covers housing at 18, food at 8, healthcare at 6, transportation at 5, entertainment and hobbies at 12, and a buffer of 14 to 51,000 for travel, gifts, emergencies, and legacy. The deeper meaning, freedom. No job, no commute, no boss. Complete control of how you spend every minute of every day. The 50 per week sacrifice over 40 years created a life of total freedom. The person who spent that 50 on coffee instead has Social Security only at 28,000 per year, near the poverty line. The 30-minute setup. Step 1. 15 minutes. Open a Roth IRA at Fidelity, Schwab, or Vanguard. 0 minimum balance. Free account. Commission-free ETF trades. Step 2. 5 minutes. Set up an automatic $50 transfer every Friday from your checking account to the Roth IRA. Automation removes willpower. Step 3. 5 minutes. Buy VU or VTI using fractional shares. Enable DRIP so dividends automatically reinvest into more shares. Step 4. 2 minutes. Set an annual calendar reminder for January 1st to check your balance once per year. Step 5. Do nothing for 40 years. Let compounding work. Do not check weekly. Do not panic during crashes. Do not withdraw during emergencies. Let the system run. Total setup time, 27 minutes. Lifetime payoff, $883,000 to $1.81 million. 27 minutes of setup. 40 years of patience. Nearly $1 million to nearly $2 million in retirement wealth. The final verdict. $50 a week. VU or VT. Inside a Roth IRA. For 40 years. Conservative estimate, $883,000. Historical estimate, $1.81 million. Total money you personally contribute, $104,000. Compounding does the rest, $779,000 to $1.7 million, which is 88 to 94% of your final wealth. The choice is not whether the math works. The math is verified and settled. The choice is whether you will redirect $50 from coffee, lunch, and subscriptions into your future, whether you will automate it so willpower becomes irrelevant, and whether you will let it compound for 40 years without touching it. $50 a week. The price of a coffee and a lunch. The cost of retirement freedom. $50 per week. One fund. 40 years. $900,000 to $1.8 million. Can you find $50 per week in your budget right now? Drop your age in the comments and I will calculate your number. Hit subscribe. See you next week.